Now, there are high public expectations for President Cyril Ramaphosa to act on the report that was released last week on the July 2021 uprising. The panel was required to assess what relevant information was available to which spheres and structures of government and the management of that information from the time that the unrest started, who acted or who should have acted on such information. Now, the panel report states that the executive must carry some of the blame and take responsibility for its lapse of leadership. During Sona last week, Ramaphosa said he will be announcing leadership changes in the security cluster. Senior lecturer at the KZN School of Education, Dr. Bronwynne Anderson, joins us now to chat about this. Dr. Anderson, great to have you. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Leanne, and thank you to the viewers. Good morning to everybody, and happy Valentine's Day to everybody.
Yeah, very happy Valentine's Day to you too. It's good to have you on the show. Thanks very, very much. I hope our connection holds out. I can already tell that it's not too good, but we'll persevere until we can't anymore. So now, let me open up by asking you, now, the panel report basically says that police were overstretched and the failure to adequately reflect negatively on the leadership structures in the criminal justice system. That's what the report has had to say. Would it be acceptable if this was the only reason given for police failure, or does the myriad of issues complicate Ramaphosa's position, including SAP's top leadership and ANC internal politics as very big contributors as well?
Breaking up a bit there, Leanne. I didn't hear much of the question, but what I did hear, I will respond to. I definitely believe that there's a huge kind of politicization and factionalization of the intelligence, which has failed our communities over the past decade. And due to the ANC trying to work within their issues and not really becoming and doing the part of a government and a ruling party per se, and rather focusing on the ANC as a political party has really failed the government. And when we talk about the policing systems, yes, we can look at the policing systems and say they have definitely failed the people in protecting them, for one, and for doing what they should have been doing. But we also need to look at the higher structures, as you say, the executive and that. And when you talk about the POP, for example, public order police, they should really have been visible. Our Minister of Police, Becky Tele, was conspicuous by his absence, and so was POP. And POP actually gives the advice and the instruction to SAPs to assist them in crowd management, in policing of public gatherings, combating serious violent crimes and things like that. And that was totally absent. And that was hugely problematic, where people and communities had to defend their own families and communities and malls and stuff from the unrest and the violence that was happening. So if we're talking about a failure of government, yes, we are, because the infighting in government certainly has a role to play in what has happened here. And when Cyril Ramaphosa wants to talk about restructuring and revamping and working towards creating a different policing system and upping the policing system, it just comes across again as pure rhetoric.
Mm. And this is something that we really need to focus on, because I mean, during Sona, Ramaphosa said he will be announcing leadership changes within the security cluster. Where? How? Let's focus on that. I mean, which government institutions do you think or anticipate he should actually start with?
In my opinion, the entire government needs a restructuring. I mean, restructuring can have so many meanings. and the meanings could moving one minister to another department, and a department that they're not aware of, a department that they're not fully qualified in, and moving somebody from policing and moving another minister from policing to, let's say, for example, fisheries and industries such as mining and that, and then moving someone to correctional services. That's not going to work. A proper restructuring of qualified, and we need to also consider the ages of these ministers that are in Parliament. He needs to start the rethinking. How is he going to bring in fresh, new, and reimagine new ways of doing things instead of simply recycling the executive that he has already?
I want to also understand when they say that the whole of cabinet needs to be held responsible for what happened. What in effect does that mean? I mean, when one looks at the fact that we've lost 50 billion rand, over 300 lives were lost, and I'm sure more. Businesses have been destroyed. I mean, this was an absolutely dismal time that we all had to sit and watch this go through, with severe lack of action happening. Now, when you say that the whole of cabinet should be held responsible, what does that mean? I mean, I still am failing to understand what repercussion cabinet would go through if the report actually found that everybody should be held responsible.
I think that like I said initially, that there's the infighting that is going on, and the factionalization and the politicization, particularly of intelligence. And had intelligence done their work properly and communicated to POP, and if there was a collaboration, and if there was sufficient kinds of structures in place to manage the situation. I mean, this event, and it was horrendous. People were terrified for their lives. This went on for 7 days of looting, and it was the same MO, the same modus operandi, but no plan was executed by POP or the Minister of Police. He was conspicuous by his absence, and so was POP. And so, if we look at those, let's say the kind of lower structures, we look at them, and it obviously starts from the top. And we all know that the fish head rots from the head. And if the head is rotting, then obviously this is going to filter down to the bottom. And this is what is happening, that there is very poor leadership. And we have to say things as they should be said, that the leadership is poor. What is being done to actually secure the vulnerable and the people that are poor? And if we look at the way in which this happened, we can always talk about issues of poverty. We can, I mean, this is an ongoing issue of unemployment, of poverty, of lack of service delivery, and the like. But we're looking at a bigger picture here, I think. And the bigger picture would be the issue of our former President Jacob Zuma and how the violence escalated. The assumptions people are making about why this violence actually happened, and the looting happened, and the unrest. And this was a kind of event that happened all over, and the police were absolutely helpless. They couldn't apply their rules. They didn't have, and why I say this comes from the top, because had our government been properly prepared, I mean, the intelligence was there, but not there. And this started, the event started on the Thursday, but the trucks being burned. Surely there were signs that this was going to escalate, and there were messages going viral, and everyone was talking. So nothing happened up until the Monday when the looting started. No tear gas to disperse crowds. no water cannons. And the report that was given to Cyril Ramaphosa shows that there is one water cannon in every province. That is absolutely despicable. One water cannon, no rubber bullets, but we must commend the police for not using force, particularly as it pertains to women and children. Not to discount that men are important too, but just to make that clear. So it does start from the top. It definitely has, we have been what I would call in reservedly sitting ducks. People were waiting for their turn to be attacked and things like that. It was just a time of horror and fear.
Yeah, and the reality is, and I mean, we saw these riots happening way before that Monday actually happened. There was a build-up. There was writing on the wall that there was severe unrest. I mean, if we go back to what was happening on the roads in KwaZulu-Natal, the burning of the trucks, and then there was looting here and there, and little pockets of violence that were popping up, and it was very, very worrying. And what was even more worrying was that we never ever saw, prior to the absolute uncontrolled riots that happened, was the National Security Council never meeting. I mean, this for me is a real worry. I mean, when we look at accountability, surely that's one of the places we should be looking as well, is the NSC.
Absolutely.
If we look also at individuals associated with all of this, I mean, let's talk to intelligence. So if we had a proper intelligence system in place, wouldn't this already have been thwarted? I mean, this was happening. The intelligence should have been right on top of it. Where was intelligence at the time?
That's the big question, I think. Where was intelligence at the time? Because intelligence should have been on top of the game at the time, informing public order police, POP. And this should have been filtered down to SAPS. So intelligence failed us dismally, whether this was strategic or whether this was just a kind of indifference or a lack of will. We don't know at this point in time. But the report is scathing on intelligence in that intelligence certainly did fail us.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one area of our structures that needs to be closely interrogated and looked at.
Yeah. I mean, the minister, if we look at the minister at the time responsible for that, of course, that's Ayanda Dlodlo. You know, where does that leave her? I mean, I'm going to go through the other role players as well, but, you know, surely there's got to be blame put at the feet of these important role players. I mean, whether we talk about Minister Dlodlo, whether we talk about Minister Bheki Cele, we talk about Kehle Sithole, we talk about Nosiviwe Mapisa-Ngakula. I mean, these are, not to mention our president. Talk to me about this. Where, you know, we keep on saying the blame must come, but who do we think should go and be held responsible for this?
Definitely, in my opinion, the blame rests with all of them. With all of them, none can be left out. None of them can be exonerated from blame. They all are responsible because they are in charge of, our government, our president certainly is at the top of everything. Well, he should be at the top of everything and he should be in the know. And of course, his ministers should be informing him timelessly about what is going on. And had this been happening, the escalation of this incident and this occurrence of 300 people dying, of such looting, of such destruction of businesses and that wouldn't have happened had the proper structures in place, proper communication. So if you ask me again, where does the blame lie? It lies with all of them. None of them should be exonerated. However, the question still remains, will they be held accountable? for
Yeah.
what has happened, for the loss of lives, for the terror, as well as for the loss of businesses. And people are still trying to recover now, and some have not recovered.
So we saw that the SSA was moved into the presidency last year. This was a move that happened last year after the riots. I mean, has this made, would this in itself make any difference? Should we question something like that, that this is now under the domain of the presidency? I mean, is this worrying? Should it have always been there? I mean, was this just a knee-jerk reaction, or, should we look deeper into that?
Yeah, it's really something that needs to be thought about. I mean, the State Security Agency is something that should be very, very close to the president and the presidency. He should have his finger on the pulse at all times, because this definitely concerns people's lives. It speaks to the vulnerable. It speaks to absolute security of not only KwaZulu-Natal as it happened in July, but it speaks to national security. And so it should certainly have been always under the presidency. But again, we question the competency, efficiency. How is it going to be managed? Like most of the ministerial positions and the ministries in our country, we are left only with questions and no answers, because we are just simply, the Constitution has certainly been disregarded. The policies and the legislations have been disregarded. Mm-hmm. And so how is the SSA becoming part of and under the presidency going to make much of a difference if there's a lack of political will?
What should be done with the ANC? And I ask this question because as the report actually categorizes the organization as a national security threat, that's a worry. What should be done there?
No, she actually wanted a brush. She didn't see it like that.
This is really a huge question, because what should be done with the ANC? The ANC is certainly the ruling party, yes. But when the ANC becomes bigger than the government, then that is a point of huge concern, because of the infighting, the factions, and the ways in which the ANC as a party, as a political party, is being put before the needs and the security and everything else, the people of the government and of this country, and it's violating the Constitution. The ANC has violated the Constitution in so many ways. So what to do with the ANC? The ANC is the ruling party. What to do with it and how it should be restructured is a really, really huge question, which I'm unable to answer. But certainly there needs to be fresh blood, I'd say, new people with fresh ideas, ways to reimagine, rethink the ways in which South Africa should be governed. And we have, if we look at the makeup of the ANC, it's old people, and that is a reality. It's old people. Can we not now start rethinking that we need new, fresh ideas and fresh blood to come into the ruling party and to start responding in ways that are consistent with the way in which the country and the way in which the world and the global world is evolving.
Yeah. All right, let's leave it there. Thanks very much, Dr. Bronwynne Anderson, for talking to us here on the program. Senior lecturer at the KwaZulu-Natal School of Education, discussing the country's dilemma with regard to the failures of the security cluster to the protests that we saw happening in 2021. Those were in July, the uprising report that some of the points it pointed out. No doubt this will be one of the big issues that will be brought about during the debate of the State of the Nation address as well.